Hello, everyone. I want to share a story with you guys. So there was a school up in the mountains, and the school was rugged, and the kids that went to the school were rugged, and they're from the mountains, and you know they all had different backgrounds. They all had different parents. They all had some were poor, some had money, and some were in between. And uh, for some reason, the kids in one classroom were very rebellious, and no matter what the principal and the higher ups would do, they couldn't keep anyone in that position. Those kids would run them off, and it was just a challenge. Well, there was a guy that applied for that position. He applied. He's like, I'm gonna apply for this job. I just got into this area. It's a good opportunity. And he was a young man, and around 30 years old or so. So he goes in for the position, or he goes in for an interview, and the principal and a couple other people that work at the school, they gave him a warning. They're like, listen, you probably won't make it in this classroom. Well, we're obviously hurting for someone, so we'll give you a shot if you're interested, but everyone else doesn't last. And so the teacher's like, sure, I'll do it. And yeah, he inside himself, he's trying to act confident, but inside he's uncertain. He's just like trying to think of everything, kind of anxious about it. So, anyways, that goes. He gets a job. He starts his first day. He meets the class. There's about 15 kids in that class, and in that classroom, he could just tell there's one person in particular, and he didn't hear any warnings of who he should watch out for. Like there's always that one kid in the classroom that tries to be the class clown or tries to interrupt or whatever. And so anyways, he notices that there's a kid that's bigger than the rest. And it seems like everyone seems to have some kind of respect for him. And at the same time, he doesn't seem to respect them. So he's like, trying to figure out, so he gets all their names and, and the one that's the biggest, he finds out his name is Tom. So he introduces himself to Tom, and he's like, so because he has a sheet that tells you the names, and he asks one of the students, who is that, and they tell him it's Tom. So he goes over to Tom to introduce himself, figuring he could try to get to Tom to get to the rest of the kids, and that's gonna be his strategy. Well, he goes to introduce himself to Tom, and he goes out to shake his hand, and he's like, you must be Tom, and he doesn't answer, and so he goes to the kid thinking like, did he tell me a lie? And he's like, no, that's Big Tom. And so he goes over and calls him Big Tom because he wants to be referred. That's what the kids call him. And for some reason, he won't answer to anything else. So anyways, yeah. So he introduces himself to Tom, Big Tom, and Big Tom says to all the other kids, I'll take care of this guy. I'll make sure he doesn't last more than 2 days. So at that point, the teacher's like, man, this is going to be a challenge. I don't know what to do. I'm just gonna, he's sitting there at the desk thinking. So he asked the classroom. He comes up with a good idea. He's like, I'm gonna ask the classroom rules that we need for the classroom. Maybe that will get them kind of involved. So he asks them. He's like, I want to have 10 rules for the classroom, and I want you guys to come up with the ideas. All the kids all at once raise their hand. They're trying to say all these different things. Well, one kid raises his hand. He's like, I think no stealing. So he's like, all right, that's a good one. So he writes it down, and another kid says, no cheating, and they basically established 10 rules. And so he's like, well, and the kids are thinking to themselves during lunch, they're like, well, we never had a teacher establish classroom rules. Usually they tell us it's this way or no one else's way. Well, they kind of like that idea. They like the fact that they were able to, so anyways, they established those rules, and from those rules, the next day rolls around, and Big Tom comes up to the teacher and says, someone stole my lunch. And so the teacher's like, let's do like a little trial. We'll do like a little courtroom thing. And so they're all sitting down, and he's kind of interrogating some people. They get down to like the wire, and the littlest guy, the smallest guy in the class, he has a kind of like a dirty shirt, kind of, just dirty. They're in the mountains. So he doesn't think anything of it at this point. So the littlest kid in the classroom comes up, and he's like, did you steal the lunch? He said, yes, I did. And the day before, Tom actually was the last person to establish the last rule. The last rule was if anyone steals, they get 10 lashes, or whippings or whatever you want to say. And so at this point, the littlest kid, he's like shaking and he's nervous, and like no one in the classroom saying anything. See, Tom established the harshest rule for being the biggest guy, and it happens to be his lunch that got stolen. Well, he asked the kid, like, why did he steal? And he said, my dad is dead, and my mom is, basically poor, and we don't have a lot of money, and when I get to eat, it's not often, and I was hungry. I couldn't resist it, and so he starts saying this, and everyone's still quiet, and the teacher's like reluctant about the rule, but he knows in order to keep the favor of everything and just keep things rolling, he's gonna have to go through with his punishment. So he doesn't want to, of course, right? Like, because he's hearing this sad story, and so he's like, well, a rule's a rule. So he tells the littlest one to take off. He had like a little like a jacket on, so he tells him to take the jacket off, and he realizes he just has overalls and just no shirt on. And he said, is there a reason you don't have a shirt on? And he says, my mom can't afford to wash her clothes often, and is so busy, and we don't have a lot of money, and I have one shirt. And at that point, the teacher's feeling really terrible. Like, he just doesn't know how to go about it. Like, what do I do? I can't lose my face value out of everything, and I have to go through with this. Well, Big Tom being the bully and all this stuff, and he hears the story, and he didn't know. He didn't take time. He didn't take time to listen to the other students because he was always bullying them. Well, he starts to get a little broken down about this, and he's like, I'll take the lashing. I'll take the beating. And the little kid runs to his seat real fast, and the teacher's like, well, yeah, we could go through with that. So he goes through with it, and some of the students start crying because just everything that, like, the just the emotions involved here, and not realizing the last one didn't have food, and the example that Big Tom did. And it's like us with Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, he took the penalty for sin. And a lot of times we don't see ourselves through God's eyes. We spend our whole lives running and being a certain image that we create, not that he created. He created us in the image of him, the likeness of him. The reality is we start adding and emptying different things in our life, and we try to hide behind different images and certain things. And the reality is Jesus Christ died on the cross for all of sins, all of mankind's sins. But the reality is you have to see yourself through God. See, we're taught in the world that you're good and all these things, but the reality is there is none righteous on their own. No, not one. You can be righteous through Christ. And because it's because of the righteousness of what God is Jesus Christ. So God sent his son down, and his righteousness, he lived a righteous life. He was right with God. He was perfect. He was sinless. He died on the cross for sins. So he knew not sin, but he died for sins. And that's like Big Tom. Obviously, Big Tom is not Jesus Christ, but if to hear a story like that, and if that doesn't stir you up, I don't know. It's so many times we have a conscience, but we sear it. We just have too many things that happen in life. The reality is, I hope if there's anything that this could draw you to have a desire to seek God, seek him, not for your parents, not for this person, not for that. Seek him for yourself to actually know who God is. And if he's real, read the Bible, read the word of God. Don't take it from Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, Baptists. Seek God and let God seek you. Because the reality is there's a verse, examine me, O Lord, and prove me. Try my reins in my heart. Examine me, O Lord, and prove me. Try my reins in my heart. God has to examine you. He sees your motives. He knows your intents. He knows your purposes. He knows your hurts. He knows, just like that example. God has rules, the 10 Commandments and different things, but those aren't in place to hurt you. See, the reality is we all naturally want to be rebellious as a little kid, right? Tell a kid not to touch a cookie and leave it, fresh baked cookie on that thing on the table, and leave. That kid's eating that cookie quicker than you can probably leave the room. The reality is it's a simple little picture, but the reality is we all fall short on our own. But God knows that. See, God created us free will. He didn't create us to be robots. All he wants you to do is come to him by faith and to just receive the guidance of him and the gift that he gives. It's a gift. You know, it's funny because we live in America and we claim to be a Christian nation overall, right? Like overall, I know there's a bunch of people that, well, America was never founded on God, but it was, right? We read in God we trust. We read the Constitution. We read these things. There's principles. A lot of these guys had some kind of faith in them, and I know public school strips it out, but they don't look at true documents. If you really want the true sources, don't take it from a textbook. Go back to the original texts, or whatever. If they wrote in journals, but find them. Don't just like stop, because honestly, you're just as naive as those teachers or the books. You can't read a book about history when there's actual real history documents and different things that are literally still in like many cases around the world. Anyways, my point to that is we claim to be a Christian nation and supposedly everyone's an atheist, but yet they all believe something. But then when you break it down, you know, what's funny is this is just an example. I don't believe the world's flat, so I don't sit there going to debate people about it because it's just pointless to me. So if you're such an atheist or whatever, why do you spend so much time debating something you don't believe? It seems kind of like beating your hand against sand. And my point gets back to, because I go on bunny trails, that's just how I am. But to get to the point is we claim to be a Christian nation, and it's Christmas, right? Everyone with Christ and miss. We can go back to the origins. You could study it out yourself. But yes, I get it was a Catholic thing, this and that, and Saint Nick and all these things. I get it. But my point to that is it was still centered around a godliness. And Christmas is not that anymore. It's me, 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 give, 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 me, 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 give, 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 me, 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 give. And how about you kind of take the example of Big Tom? You know, like that person that you may not like, or that person that's cutting you off. Why flip them off? Why be angry? Why? And you know what? Maybe if you actually were nice to someone, you know, I see these people at the store, and if someone messes up their order, man, you think that they would like pee in their Cheerios or something. Like, just chill out a little, enjoy life a little. You know, smell the roses. Life is still not as bad as you think it is. You're alive. There's many blessings. You know, you wake up. Yes, I get it. It may not be what you want, but you're still alive. And you know what? Honestly, give God the glory, because you could be dead. And I know that some people wish they were dead. You wish you were dead till you actually were dead. That's just the reality. Make the best out of today, because you're still alive. Stop making excuses and be nice. You know, that person riding on the road, I have this tendency. I'll see that person riding down the road, you know, they have the backpack on, I think, oh, junkie. Regardless, even if they were, who cares? What does it do to me? Rather, why not, hi, how's it going? Try to just treat them like they're normal. Treat them like I would want to be treated, right? Like principles we learned as kids. Treat them like the way you'd want to be treated. And yes, this is bunny trails, because that's just like how I am. But at the same time, I hope you guys give God the glory. You know, treat your wife, treat your husband the way that they would want to be treated, you know, or treat, yeah, you know, or the way you want to be treated. But like little principles, you know, you see these husbands and wives and they hate each other. Like they'll literally, basically, by just talking to them for 3 minutes, they talk about how they hate their basically other half. If you hate, you know, I'll tell you this, those people that hate everyone, they hate themselves. They don't know that. They're just so blind and so stuck on dysfunction. But anyways, you know, wake up, you know, appreciate those things. You know, teach kids the right things. Don't teach kids, go on the computer so I don't have to be a parent. You know, teach your kids the fundamentals. We all had that. Back when I was a kid, back in the 90s, you know, like, sure, we had screens. I get it. We had PlayStation, we had N64, but we still went outside. We still were doing things. You know, teach those kids those things. Teach them to go get dirty a little, ride their bike. I was wiping out on my bike, skidding around, you know, falling over, making ramps, and, you know, it's teach kids to be thinkers, you know, free thinkers. Not trapped into the like, honestly, it's kind of sad when I'm around all my nieces and nephews, they all want to jump on the computer or whatever, their phone. And it's a trap. You don't have to think. It just puts you in la la land. So honestly, think, you know, read books, go outside, go explore, go hiking, go see the world, you know, go volunteer. I volunteered a lot as a teenager, and it really will make you the best out of you. And anyways, that's it.